everybody, my name is Tony Grillo, and welcome to my channel, Wisconsin Hugs. I thought I would show you this picture here. This is me with the bronze fawns. I really love this picture, and there's a reason why I stuck it there as my cover picture, because the last one I had a kind of a funny little message. Yeah, I had this one on there. I like having you around because my weirdness doesn't look so weird when you're doing it too. And at the time I wrote that, I was dating a girl named Kristen, and well, we'd been seeing each other about 6 weeks or so, and then I got the old phone call or whatever saying, yeah, I need a break. and so yeah, we've not seen each other anymore, and that's okay. She's a great gal. But I thought, well, you know what, I'm gonna take that one down and I'm gonna put the Fonzie up, because you know what, Fonz is awesome, right? Love the Fonz. And you know, I could be sad, and you know, but I kind of refuse to let anyone get me down. I feel like, you know, it's my choice to whether or not to be sad or not, and I choose to be happy, and so that's why I put the Fonz in there.
You were a chick, Fonz. Hey!
Well, you know, now that I don't have a girlfriend anymore, I don't ever have to worry about this situation. Honey, the car's getting hot. What should I do? Tell the car you have a headache. But I really liked this line right here. This was one of my Facebook friends here, and she put this on there. Social media got 50-year-old women saying they're single because they haven't met the right guy. You go meet him soon. His name is Jesus. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now, this was kind of interesting because this has to do with my video for today. I wrote Tony Grillo depression, and Facebook right here said, can we help? Posts with words you're searching for may be sensitive or encourage behavior that leads to harm. If you're having a hard time or just want someone to talk to, we're here to support you. Now, that's kind of interesting. So I really don't need help, but I was trying to find a post. But I thought that's interesting that Facebook did put that in there. Now, I did do a Google search real quick. I asked, what are the top 10 causes of depression? Causes we have for clinical depression, we have stressful events such as a relationship breakdown or breakup, personality, you have family history like losing a parent, giving birth. I did not know that giving birth can cause depression. Loneliness, that seems to be a big one. Alcohol and drugs, yes, that can definitely lead you into depression and illness. I totally agree with all those causes right there. What are the top 3 causes? Well, abuse, whether it's physical, sexual, or emotional, that can make you vulnerable to depression later in life. Age, people who are elderly are at a higher risk of depression. I guess medications can affect you. Conflict, definitely conflict. Death or loss, yes. Gender, genes, or major events. So now, before I get into the post that I was going to talk about today, I wanted to share this story with you. I was at a period of time in my life where I was extremely overweight. I was like over 300 pounds. I had a stent put in So I had a heart attack and had surgery done. And at one time, I had looked like this guy right here. And my wife left me, basically telling me I was a fat, ugly guy. No one would ever find me attractive. And that kind of ticked me off, because at one time I was a college hockey player, and so I decided, I could be angry for the rest of my life, or I could go do something about it. And I got myself on a weight loss program, and basically what I did was I was counting calories, and if you look at this chart right here, I started at 1114, and so by the time I got to 514, which is like 6 months, I had dropped all the way from I was above 280 at that time. I actually was 300, so I was on this program a couple weeks, and then I started keeping track of it. But I got down to, I was almost 205 pounds when I got to the end of that 6. So basically I had dropped, in this 6-month period, I had dropped almost 80 pounds. And that's what I looked like right there at that time, And the secret is counting calories and exercise. And basically I talked about 1710 calories I counted, and then I talked a little bit about my diet. What I did was basically the same diet every day, and I studied food, and so I wanted to make sure I was feeding my body right. And I found that in my research, kale, spinach, orange, banana, and almonds were the 5 foods that you should eat. And when I talk about orange, I'm not talking orange juice. I'm talking about a real orange, because apparently you need the fiber from a real orange. Orange juice is just like drinking soda. It's not very good for you at all. It's just too much sugar. There's no nutrients. So like you have to eat a real orange, eat a real banana, you got spinach, you got kale, and then almonds. So, and that worked out pretty well, and I basically came out to be about 1,700 calories. I mean, here's another picture of me, and then that was me after. When I started my program, I realized one of the things that I had to do was just change everything about the way I think, and change my attitude. And I realized I needed to find my happy places. That's what I call it. And so I basically came up with 5 of them: church, hiking, the gym, writing, because I love writing on Facebook and sharing stories, and that's what prompted me to start this channel. And I love live bands. I love live music. I mean, there's a picture of me after I lost all that weight, and I'm at one of my favorite places. It was called the Old Rock in Columbus, Wisconsin, and just waiting for a band to show up. And I actually went by myself, because most people that I knew that were my age, I'm an older person, they were home with their wives, and I was divorced and single. And I thought, well, I'm not going to sit around at home, because that can lead to depression. I got to get out and enjoy life, and that was live bands was part of the thing that got me going. In fact, I even wore shirts with musicians on there just because I enjoyed their energy and their music. That was Jimi Hendrix I'm wearing right there. So in May 15th of 2019, I wrote a post, because I was going through some major depression, and after gone through my divorce, and my dad had died. My mom had passed away not too long after, and so I lost my house. I had to start all over. Basically, I was living in my semi truck. I didn't have anywhere to live. I showered at the YMCA. So, but I pulled through, and I got through it, and I lost all that weight in 6 months, and so a lot of it I did with the power of the mind. And so, I talked about that, and I wrote a post that, well, some people just didn't like. And why don't we just dive into it? It's about depression, and let's read what I wrote. I love my Facebook friends, even when I don't agree with you. LOL. This is a forum of discussion and the sharing of information. And last night I walked into a debate on whether or not depression is a choice. And every one of us has dealt with depression in our lives. Oh yeah, that's what happened. One of my friends had a post on depression, and I must have commented something about it, and that's what got me on this whole topic. After my divorce, I was at the lowest point ever and feeling like a total failure. Now, I could have stayed angry and got drunk, but I decided to lose weight, reconnect with my childhood friends on Facebook, start seeing live bands, go hiking, and eventually fall in love again with an awesome lady, and my journey found me happiness. No one is born depressed. You have a choice on how you will cope, and drugs will fix how you feel. You have to fix your attitude, and that can only be done by the individuals themselves. So love life, choose to be happy. And then this was something that I found in an article. Depression is a state of mind which can be improved through different methods. I used to be depressed around 2 years ago, real depression, kind where a serious 3-day nap would be needed to function. I would stay indoors all day and would only go out if I had to. School, groceries, walk my dog, etc. I met this friend, however, who would become the reason why I find myself happy today. He pointed out that depression was a choice. And like all of you folks on the other side would react, I looked at him with disbelief and told him he was as ignorant as anyone could get. And I get that a lot. A lot of my friends will tell me I'm pig-headed, I'm stupid, I don't know what I'm talking about. But this came from someone, and I totally agree, because I went through it, and it is a change of mind, for me anyways. I was later to be proved wrong. Buy me a planner. He made me promise him to always fill my schedule up with things I wanted to do. But since I was depressed and wanting to do nothing, he suggested that I start with pushing myself to work out. So that's what I did, and that was one of the things that was on my list for battling depression was go to the gym and work out and run. And eventually I did run a half marathon. 2 months in, I saw changes in my outer as well as my inner self, and this would later motivate me up to this day to start planning my days with activities that I began to enjoy. So yes, depression is a choice, subconsciously based off of the actions you take. Now, this post had 88 comments, and you could probably imagine I got a lot of anger from it as well. And I think we're going to go through some of the comments in a sec here. But this was one of the posts that I did when I finished my half marathon. 13.1 miles, ran it in 2 hours, 27 minutes, 59 seconds, ran at 11:17 per mile pace. I finished my first ever half marathon, Watertown, Wisconsin. Thank everyone for your support. My new friend here finished first at his age for 30 and over. So, and his name is Griffith Schroeder, and I'm still Facebook friends with him. When he took first, he kind of inspired me. And I was very proud of having accomplished that. And that was my goal. I set a goal to run a half marathon, and I focused on that, and I did it, and it helped, helped me get in shape, and I started enjoying life and loving life again. I had purpose. So, as you can imagine, I got a lot of comments, 88 of them to be exact. Some were my comments, but Vernon is a girl I went to school with in high school. So she said, feeling sorry for yourself is a choice. Real depression is not. Yes, you can choose to get help or not get help, but the actual feelings of depression are not a choice. It can hit you out of the blue for no apparent reason, and it's real. I absolutely think you should try different ways of helping you through it, and if medication is one of those ways, that's great, and you have to do what's best for you. Okay, so she's in the crowd that says that depression is not a choice, and okay. Lori Zeberth, another girl I went to school with. I totally respect everything that she has to say. I graduated with her, so let's see what she had to say. I think what you were going through was what you said, a low point or perhaps situational depression, and it could be. She might be right. Although, the thing that said the most severe forms of depression do come from loss of family, which my parents died, and a divorce. Speaking from experience in helping a family member through clinically diagnosed depression, it is not a choice. So my family member would tell you they would choose every day not to have to deal with the crap they had been through, the stigma, the overwhelming sadness, desire not to be on this earth anymore. It is heartbreaking. Medication and therapy have helped. I hope I have helped provide them with the tools to get through it, because depression is not something you just come out of. It is something you have to manage. For the rest of your life. On a side note, I'm glad you found a good girl. So, Jennifer Mather, another girl from my high school, she had something, and right now the comments are so far two that are against me, and she's probably a third one that'll be against me. That's okay, they're trying to educate me. I won't agree with them, but it's good to hear their viewpoints. So let's hear what Jennifer had to say. Strongly disagree. You couldn't have had full-on depression. It's a chemical imbalance in a person's brain. I might agree with a little bit of the chemical imbalance, but I think the chemical imbalance can be changed by the way you think. And you can, if you become happy, you can create chemicals in your brain that come from you being happy, that can change the way your brain works, and change the chemicals that are in your brain. But that's my feeling on it, and I'm not a doctor. I have major clinical depression. Depression is something a person learns to live with. It never truly goes away. I control mine with medication therapy. You need to learn more. This is from a person that had shock treatments. Yes, I was catatonic at one time. There are people that choose not to manage their mental illness. Depression is not a choice. If you think so, come live my life. It's a constant battle. I am so offended by your comment. It's interesting. So because you find my comment offensive, then that makes you believe I'm wrong. Sorry, I don't buy that. She goes, Tony, I'm a person that lives in truth. I know you're wrong. My comment is not offensive, and I shouldn't be bullied as being non-caring. Maybe you should try some of the stuff I've done. And she goes, wow. She says, you make me want to block you. I might have got in one of those moods where I was starting to get a little teed off. But, because I don't buy that. I honestly believe your mind, there's nothing your mind can't do. Doug Addison, another kid at my high school. I didn't go to school. It wasn't in his class, but we went to the same high school. I think he's a little younger than me, but raising two boys, I love him. I love the guy. Studies support your position, and studies are not done by a bunch of quack doctors. There are, however, exceptions to the rule. It's not a one-size-fits-all. And this is a guy that he went through a divorce too, and I bet he went through some major depression. And one of the things that kept him going was raising his two boys. Okay, Don Marie, Tony. It sounds like a band. You let me down. I'll not preach except say clinical depression is no one's choice. It is a chemical imbalance within one brain, not a choice. The blues are one thing, but clinical depression is truly another. You, above all, you should know this. Okay, so what did I say? Okay, here we go with I'm disappointing people again. Yeah, I was in a little bit of a mood there. Get off your high horse. There might be some chemical imbalance, but ultimately it comes down to fixing the attitude. And that's all doctors can do because drugs won't fix anything. And she goes, well, I know of no one that's going through depression who would give everything they have to have happy lives. Then go be happy. It can be done, and I totally believe that. But I didn't want to fight with her because she's cool. So Amy's a girl I know in Wisconsin, Milwaukee. She's awesome. So be careful. People follow you. Depression is a disease. Sometimes it has nothing to do with one's situations. There's no shame in getting help. If you can't beat it alone. And I said, yeah, maybe you should try playing hockey and slapping a puck with the sticks. I don't buy that depression is a disease, because she says a disease. I mean, cancer is a disease. People keep saying depression is a disease, a mental illness. Well, I don't buy that. I really don't. I honestly believe it's a behavior. Whether it's a learned behavior, whatever, it's a choice. Vernon, I went to school with her. She goes, I'm curious what your thoughts on postpartum depression. Well, I don't know what postpartum depression is, so I would have to look it up. Pam, she's my cousin in Michigan. Usually she agrees with me on everything. She's very conservative like I am, but she says, Tony, on this issue, you are wrong. Your experience of situational depression is not the same as real. I battle anxiety disorder. I battle almost 40 years. I've read so many books on this subject. Cruel to throw out this archaic ideology. And, talking about depression is cruel because we don't agree. Here we go again with me being cruel as a way to explain my views being wrong. I don't agree. It doesn't make me cruel. So, and then apparently she hit a comment. Now, Keith Schumacher, another kid I went to school with, said people should not underestimate the capacity for change in brain function chemistry that can come from purposeful chosen behavior. Too many people believe we are prisoners of brain chemistry, and that is a detriment of behavior. That is not necessarily the case. Behavior can not only alter brain chemistry, it can literally alter development, leading to viable physiological differences. I totally agree. That's exactly the message I was trying to say, and Keith just said it a hell of a lot better than me. And I said, finally, one person agreed with me. Thank you. You are a brave soul. And, Christy had some things to say. And those two kind of went at it. And then Christy said, Christy's another great person. I love her. She went to Coon Rapids. I met her from Facebook. I wasn't in her grade, but become friends with her over the years. She went through a divorce. And so I'm sure she had some depression. I'm like you, Tony, in the fact that I don't suffer from clinical depression, as I stated. I have loved those that do, and their experience was far different than what you explain as your depression after divorce. See, why do people diminish my depression? It's one of the most stressful, depressing things a person can go through in life, but they can't pull out of it. You and I are fortunate enough that when we are feeling low, we can exercise, meditate, volunteer, and increase our feel-good hormones. But if your brain isn't working properly, releasing those hormones, we are all different, and a lot of what makes us different is the way our brains work. And, maybe some of what she says makes some sense. And Richard, he says, I'm with the majority regarding this subject. Richard's a guy I've gone fishing with, smart dude. And, he's gone through his whole things. He's basically saying situational depression, it's a short-term form of depression. That's what he's talking about. Triggers can include divorce, death of a close friend, serious accident, other things. So he's saying, that I wasn't serious, I wasn't clinically depressed, and he's got a point there. Kathy Wilson said, and she was a girl I grew up with next door when I was a kid, so I really always enjoy hearing what she has to say. And her and her brother Ron, although Ron is like the biggest weenie liberal I think I've ever met in my entire life, but I love the guy, even though he's totally wrong on everything in regards to politics. But here we go. Kathy says clinical depression is a result of chemical change or imbalance in the brain. It is real neurological condition and can't be changed by simply thinking happy thoughts and doing fun things. A person suffering this can be in a room surrounded by 30 people laughing and appearing having fun and sad and lonely, and that is not a choice. So let's see. Mark, this kid I grew up with, I didn't even know I was still Facebook friends. He rarely ever comments on any of my stuff, but he also lived next door to me, and he worked as a community service police officer, and he did a bunch of other jobs. And then he was dating a girl that I was in a college class with one time. But Tony Grillo, I'm glad you can do that, but for me, I suffer from clinical depression, which I deal with daily with the best help of medication. I wish I could think happy thoughts or just jump back into the saddle. Tina, a girl I love, she lives in Minneapolis. She's just funny, and I love her to death. And there's a huge difference between depression and clinical depression. And then Allie Spencer said, holy dude, this is super ignorant and wrong. And, dangerous. Chemical imbalance cannot be willed away. And I'm like, telling people to love life is ignorant? I don't think so. So Christy, she goes in here and she says, I am obviously very passionate about this subject. Bottom line is, regardless of your opinion, choice, not choice, let's be supportive and helpful to those who are suffering. Many don't feel like there is an answer or way out, and they end up taking their lives. If I were your child, friend, loved one who is contemplating suicide due to depression, I would hope you would offer support, check in often, and provide resources, and not just tell them to choose to be happy. Well, of course I would, be supportive, and I would, want to be there for them. And that wasn't what I was saying at all. I was saying there are things you can do to battle depression. And I talked about that. There's things that you can do to change your attitude. And then Carrie Finling or whatever, she writes, this is a person that I don't know. Somehow we became friends, and she had never written anything on any of my posts. And then on this one time, she finally decides to write something on one of my posts. This is what she has to say. Sorry, I've got to unfriend you. This is a debate. I disagree with you and feel that we won't reach a point of agreeing to disagree. I feel very strongly. Wish you the best, and I'm glad you found happiness. So, and I wrote here, depression is a way the emotional system signals that things are not working and that one is not getting one's relational needs met. If you are low on relational value in the key domains of family, friends, lovers, group, and self, feeling depressed in this content is exactly like feeling pain from a broken arm, and feeling cold, being outside in the cold, and feeling hungry without food. Okay? But then it goes on here. But everyone should be clear first and foremost that anxiety and depression are symptoms of psychosocial needs and threats. They should not be first and foremost considered alien feelings that need to be eliminated or fixed, any more than we could treat pain from a broken arm, coldness, and hunger primarily with pills that take away the feelings, as opposed to fixing the arm, getting warmer, or feeding the hungry individual. So what this person is saying, that you have to fix the mind. That's what the quote was. You have to fix the mind, and that's what I'm trying to tell people. Oh, let's see. So Renee Elizabeth, I don't know who she is. She basically says there are definitely different levels of depression. I agree with that. And I agree that clinical, manic, bipolar are on a completely different level. Those are more of a chemical imbalance or mental depression. Depression itself or situational, yes, person can choose to help themselves, but the most severe forms of depression cannot always be helped just by managing your own thoughts and changing one. See, I don't agree with that. I just don't. But she got 4 thumbs up. So it looks like I got support from one person. Well, let's go on. I said, so why do we like Rocky movies? Is it because no matter how many times he gets knocked down, he keeps getting right back up and he wins? That's a story of life. Be the hero of your own story. Okay? Don Marie says, yeah, for the sake of a member of your family, I hope that you will at least open your mind to the possibility that there are different types and that not all can be cured by simply changing one's attitude. Well, let's see what we got here. And please don't tell me to get off my high horse. All my comments to you have been regarding your family member. Well, this must have been something else. I said you were very condescending. I agree with some of what you're saying. And she says, okay, just struck a nerve. I might have got, I think I started to get a little bit ticked off at some people. Cat Thurston, I don't know this person, but he wrote, it's kind of funny how, posts like this, you get a bunch of people you don't know will all of a sudden respond, but it was just one of those posts where people that had something to say about depression, they got to say it, and I gave them the forum to do it. This was turned into an interesting debate. That's all I could say. Cat Thurston says, Tony, I would invite you to come and live in my head for just 10 minutes, but I fear you would not survive. And I said, well, it's too bad you aren't happy. And then I wrote, Time Magazine did a story on why kids cut themselves. Apparently teens can't separate their online life with real life and are scared about things they have no control over. And I wrote about that. In my dozens of conversations with teens, parents, clinicians, and school counselors across the country, there was a pervasive sense that being a teenager today is a draining full-time job that includes doing schoolwork, managing a social media identity, and fretting about career, climate change, sexism, racism, you name it. Every fight or slight is documented online for hours or days. It's exhausting. So we're the first generation that cannot escape our problems at all. We're all like little volcanoes. We're getting this constant pressure from our phones, from our relationships, from the way things are today. This person that wrote this, whoever wrote this, is totally right. We live in a world where we're constantly, problems are being thrown at us all the time, 24/7. And that's another reason why you need to find your happy places. I know a lot of times when I go hiking, I don't take my phone with me unless I want to take pictures. But if I do, maybe it's to listen to music. That's about it. And take pictures, but I am not looking at Facebook or anything else, So, Mackenzie Brunn Bryant, very smart girl. She's a family member of mine. She's one of my first cousin's daughters, and I love her. She says hundreds of thousands of human beings take their own lives on this planet per year. Maybe they should have just changed their attitudes. I'm glad that working out, getting active worked for you, but depression is not a black and white, this or that issue. Deteriorated mental health cannot be mended with a get up and go attitude. And it's interesting that the younger generation, every single person that was 20 years younger than me had this same answer, and she got 12 likes. Lisa Marie Kennedy, once I started meditating, I realized, DJ keeps barking, somebody walking outside my semi-truck. Lisa Marie says, once I started meditating, I realized it truly is a choice and a state of mind. Once you decide that happiness is attainable by your actions and decisions and what you allow into your soul, you will receive what you put out. Don't let negativity in. And it does not get in. Don't let it take over. Release toxic energies by meditating and exercising. I totally agree with that. John Hefter, he's a musician in Milwaukee. He has performed with my cousin Jerry Grillo, and probably doesn't agree with too many things that I write about, especially in politics. But let's see what he has to say. The boundary between an unmanageable disease or state of mind and unhealthy mental physical symptoms resulting from poor choices can sometimes be blurry. Seeking professional guidance when you need it, even more courage than going around. And I didn't say anything about not getting help. In fact, I encourage people to get help. If they need help, go get help. Get a counselor. In fact, everybody should get therapy. I don't have a problem with that. And I said, I don't have all the answers. I do strongly believe in the power of the mind to achieve happiness. Logic says you can choose happiness. Then that same logic says you can choose to be unhappy, whereby that unhappiness can lead to symptoms of depression. There are some things you should do. Advocate a lifestyle change. Exercise and live bands are advised. Take your time and see a therapist, just like being sick with a cold and seeing a doctor. You need to see a therapist to treat the symptoms of depression and find out what is bothering you or causing your anxiety. I do believe you could choose to overcome anything, and that includes depression. I think I've said enough. I'm on the road, so I'll try to get through all these comments. Have a great day. That's all I can do. Michelle May, great girl, lives in Minneapolis. I, in fact, was born with chemical imbalance, was diagnosed at 5 with depression, so this isn't true. It's another person that, thinks that you can be born. Well, you're born with a chemical imbalance, and maybe that is true, but then change the way you think so that you get that chemical imbalance to go the other way to get you to happiness. I don't know. That's the way I feel. My first cousin's kid, Anthony Stephen Grillo, the one that has the same name as me, Tony Grillo, he says he's another youngster in the family, and he'll probably tell me that I'm wrong, but let's see what he has to say. I have not had a single young person tell me I'm right. The notion that clinical depression is a choice is a complete fallacy. Yep, I'm wrong. One can become depressed from events and circumstances that can lead to a certain mindset, but as far as clinical depression goes, we are talking about a quantifiable chemical imbalance. I don't know about quantifiable. I don't think it's quantifiable. Nobody knows that. For instance, and please listen closely, this is important. If one has something bad happen to them, they have a choice to change their paradigm to positivity. Someone with clinical depression has low levels of serotonin because their body cannot produce the serotonin they need. We are not talking about choice here. For instance, if someone with diabetes, see, now he's comparing depression with diabetes. And that's where they get their logic from. I don't recognize depression as being an illness. I don't put it in the same category with diabetes. I think it's a behavior. So that's where we disagree. But he tries to explain that, it's diabetes, they will get ill and die. Depression must be looked at like this. If someone with clinical depression does not get their serotonin, they don't get their medicine, like diabetes, with insulin, then they will become ill and in extreme cases die. See, drugs only temporarily fixes the problem with depression, but you have to fix the mind itself. And that's what I'm trying to tell people. He says this, I say this from experience, as I have dealt with and dealing with chemical imbalance of depression. People get anything from this. I hope they understand now that there's a difference between being depressed and having depression. Do not confuse the two, as they are not. I don't agree. So Greg Grillo, one of my first cousins, he says, fucking real, cousin. Very real. And anyone thinks it's a choice should carry it around for a while. Live with it, sleep with it, and fucking drop dead with it. Okay, got 6 likes for that. Wow. All right. Well, no, I'm not going to drop dead. I'm not going to live with it. I refuse to accept it. I refuse to accept the futility of not being able to overcome depression with the changing your mind. Okay, Sarah says it's real. You're lucky you can say it. It's not, because that means you don't suffer from it. So, Sarah is a liberal, lives in Illinois, and has disagreed with me on every topic. So I think she loves to disagree with me. That's the only time I ever see her write things on my posts. And one day I kind of blew up at her, and so I don't even know if we're Facebook friends anymore. I don't see her posts anymore. Lynn Lee says, I believe it's chemical. I've lived it prior to what I thought, like you do. I told people get out there and change, but I was wrong. Okay. Let's see what Missy has to say. I have no idea who Missy is. Keep going. No matter how stuck you feel, no matter how bad things are right now, no matter how hopeless and depressed you feel, no matter how many days you spent wishing things were different, I promise you won't feel like this way forever. Keep going. And yeah, I agree with that. Definitely. That's what I had. I got a kick out of this. Janet Ortega, she was my next door neighbor when I lived in Reeseville. I finally, after I got out of my semi truck, I did find an apartment in Reeseville, and she was my neighbor. Her and her husband Felix. She goes, and then I finally, after a while there, I moved out of Reeseville and I bought a house in Milwaukee, and so we were glad to have you as a neighbor when lived in Reeseville. And yeah, it was sweet of her. So, Heidi is a person that. I've been friends with. I love her, but we've gone round and round in circles on this. She has a daughter that has been going through depression. Her daughter is also wonderful. I'm Facebook friends with her daughter Jamie, and I love Jamie. I love Heidi. I do know that Jamie goes through it, so I have to kind of be careful what I say about depression because I don't want Jamie to get upset. But at the same time, I'm kind of hoping maybe she might look at it, and say, maybe Tony, maybe I should take a look at what he has to say. But, she writes, let's see what she writes, major depressive disorder. It's a mood disorder that causes persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest, also called major depressive disorder or clinical depression. It affects, we know this part we know. And you may have trouble doing normal day-to-day activities. Sometimes we already know that part of it. What I'm trying to say is you can overcome this by changing your attitude. Okay, let's see what else she has to say. And the symptoms, so it's more than a bout of the blues, and it isn't a weakness. You can simply see right here. I disagree with this. You can't simply snap out of it. I disagree, totally disagree with that. I just do. I refuse to accept that you can't snap out of it. Okay. And then she writes down all the symptoms here, which we have sadness, we have angry outbursts, loss of interest, sleep disturbances, and anxiety, and reduced appetite, and tiredness, lack of energy. Okay, so let's see, what else does she have to say? Okay. Slow thinking, feelings of worthlessness or guilt. I agree. I know these are all things that are symptoms of depression and unexplained physical problems such as backache or headaches. So and it will affect them at work, school, social activities, yes. And they may feel generally miserable, unhappy without knowing why. Well, they know why. They're depressed. So why are they depressed? What's making them depressed? And then try to figure out, how to get out of that depression. Find out, set goals for yourself, and find ways to be happy. Stephanie Hunt, I don't know who Stephanie is. Anyways, she had to say, interesting discussion. Everyone's remaining so respectful of divergent viewpoints while sharing so honestly and open. It's beautifully, and thank you. Well, she's right on that one. Lisa Marie said, I too have had suicidal thoughts, but then I think of how that would not help anything. I was raped and abused all my life, and the guilt, shame, and trauma is always there. But I could let those people win who attempted to break my spirit and ruin my life, or I can choose to pick myself up, straighten my crown, and freaking live this life and use my voice for change. I could live in misery and the doldrums. I choose a better way. No one is going to take away my life, and I'm not going to let the actions of others determine my life's path. It is a choice. I am on a mild antidepressant and anti-anxiety meds, which I come to realize is a circle that these big pharma companies put people in and work to keep you dependent on. I agree with that. I've done my research, and there are holistic, safer ways to cure your mind, body, and soul. I totally agree with that. Sure, there are plenty of bad days, but I'd rather be alive and fighting for changes so kids don't have to go through what I went through. And then she goes, what else did she say? She said, I'm weaning from meds. I feel they are unnecessary, as I found meditation, exercise, works better than any pill, and that was my point. That was totally my point on that post. Now, this was written by an old girl I used to date, Nellie Love, but back when we were together, she knew I was depressed when she met me, and she got me through, my anger about the divorce and my depression. But she wrote this. She said, cuddling literally kills depression, relieves anxiety, and strengthens the immune system. And exactly, she's right. Cuddling does work that way. And she was a big reason why I lost all that weight, because when I met her on that first month over there in November, and then I was dating her throughout that 6-month period, so I was motivated to lose weight because of her. But then we broke up. But that happens. And she married someone else, so I'm kind of like, the first 3 girls I dated after my divorce all got married. And so I told Dee, well, Dee, the next guy you meet, that's the one you're going to marry, and I'm sure that'll happen to Kristen too. Let's see. So, I know this video is getting really long, but maybe there's somebody out here who's watching this video on depression. Maybe you think I'm totally nuts, and that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion, Maybe I angered you. Yeah, I do that a lot. That's probably why I'm still single. I'm still learning, Sometimes I get feisty, and then I fight back and get angry, and I need to learn to calm down and be patient. But that prick side of me, that feisty side of me, is also the guy that ran the half marathon and that lost all the weight and started living life again and enjoying life and dating beautiful women. So anyways, I wrote this just 12 hours ago. I got some heat a few days ago about my views that the only way to fight depression is change how you think. I'm trying to write something positive, and the enablers wound up attacking me. You have to change your attitude because drugs are only a temporary fix. So Dr. Phil had some great words here validating everything I said. This is what he said, and I just found this video yesterday when I was on YouTube, and this video popped up, and I watched it, and I was blown away by his words, because he was saying everything that I was saying about depression. And so he goes, I've been in the business 45 years, and there's nothing the mind can't overcome. You don't want to be a missile without a guidance system. You don't know where to start. We do what winners do. Now, I'm paraphrasing what he said, okay? I'm paraphrasing what he said, okay? So, you don't want to be a missile without a guidance system. You don't know where to start. We do what winners do. We take small steps towards victory. We change your behavior and attitude. We get rid of your self-indulging. It is interesting that nobody, the people that do say there's no hope in depression, never mention self-indulging. Even I was surprised when Dr. Phil mentions it. And I will play that video so that you can actually hear his real words. You become a giver and give people what you crave the most. You begin to live instead of surviving. With each step, you become so happy, you won't be depressed, and you will be too busy to be anxious. He's got 2 words for you that are dealing with depression that will change your life forever. And it's got great video if you got time to watch.
My provider, physically, emotionally, but I am so dependent on her. And I'm so triggered by the guilt I feel and the resentment I feel of not being able to.
So this video is about 8 minutes long. It's really worth the watch if you can watch this, because Dr. Phil is amazing.
Take care of myself. of not being able to grow up and have a normal childhood, of not having a mom who would just play instead of working all the time and buying my love.
The two-word question I've got for you is what if? You say, I don't know what to do. I don't know. I feel helpless. I feel hopeless. I don't know what success looks like for me. I'm not even sure where I am. I sure don't know where I'm going. I don't have an objective, a goal, a place I'm trying to get. And I'm saying, what if you had to answer to some of those questions? What if you recognized that small changes added up to big results across time? What if you had a plan to start requiring more of yourself every day? What if you started holding yourself accountable? What if you decided to behave your way to success? What if you started setting some interim goals and you started to achieve those things one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other? And you realized, you know what, the next 6 months is going to go by whether I'm doing something about my life or not. So I might as well start doing some things whether they make sense to me or not. And I get to the end of that 6 months and I look back. Because you know something? I've done a big study over years and years and years. Robin can tell you I've studied success since I was 12 years old. And I found out that success leaves clues. If you ask people, what is success for you? What's a win look like for you? They'll tell you, oh, I can tell you what it's going to look like. I can tell you what it's going to feel like. I can tell you who's going to be there. I can tell you what I'm going to be wearing. I can tell you what the room's going to smell like. I can tell you what everything's going to look like. I can see it. It's a movie in my mind. I can see it right there. I know it. I know it. And I am going to take action towards a known outcome. They know where they're going. And the reason that's so important is because if this step presents itself, do they take that step or not? They say, yep. How do I know that? Because I know where I'm going. And this gets me closer to where I'm going, so I take that step. This step presents itself. Do I take it? Yep. How do I know that? Because I know where I'm going. This step presents itself. Do I take it? Nope. How do I know that? Because I know where I'm going. You don't know where you're going. You're like a missile without a guidance system. Even if you got healthy, even if you got energized, even if you got motivated, you're like a missile without a guidance system. You're just flopping around and you wouldn't know where you're going. You have to decide what you want. What if you decided what you want? And you set that goal and you started behaving your way closer to it. And you realize, you know what? A little step doesn't get me much closer, but then I take another little one and another little one and another little one and another little one and another little one, and pretty soon it's April, and hell, I'm way down the road. You can behave your way out of this. There is nothing that you can't overcome. I've been doing this for 45 years. I've had people I've worked with for 2 years to get them where you are. You've got a good mind. You've got a good body. You've got skills. You can get up right now and dance on this stage. You have skills. I've seen you on tape. Damn, you're good. And you know what? I'm going to give you one piece of advice that you can take right now that will change your life. And that is, if you have a void in your life, what you need to do is give away what you need the most. You feel lonely, don't you? Then you need to find people more lonely than you, and you need to give them what you need, which is love, companionship, and caring. focus on what's going on with you. You need to become a giver. Look at that picture. And I mean, really look at it. That's you. Remember that? It takes a lot of skill and ability to do what you do. You can give that to young girls and teach them to have pride and skill and ability where they will walk taller and have pride in themselves, and I guarantee you, you'll walk out of there feeling better about who you are. And before you know it, you won't have time to be worried about some of the things you're worried about. You'll be too busy to be depressed. And you'll be too happy to be anxious.
You'll be too busy to be depressed.
You're stuck
You'll be too
because you're self-absorbed.
happy.
And I'm not trying to insult
You'll be
you.
too happy to be depressed.
I'm saying
You'll be
that's what happens when
busy
we
to
get
be
sick and we become a patient. You've stopped living. And you've started existing. What if you started living again
What if you started
instead of just surviving?
talking about changing attitudes, changing behavior?
Just need to change my behavior.
Exactly. She
And,
gets it.
Get out of my own way. And
This
just
is a
fight
woman that's
through
battling depression.
the darkness and help other people.
I know some people argue
Can I
that
finish your
she's
sentence
battling
for you?
other things as well, but and
Dr. Phil, I
they-
hear you, but I don't know how to start.
I don't know how to start.
Yeah, I know. I'll help you.
I'm terrified.
I know. But does it make sense?
a lot of people
Yeah.
are depressed, don't know
I'm
where
not
to start.
asking for like a magic pill, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to.
Be careful, I caught you smiling.
That's a good one.
Tomorrow.
I did not raise my children.
Okay. I
Go out there and I can't get excited without it spiraling into anxiety and having an anxiety attack.
Can I respond to that?
Please.
You said I'm looking for something.
I'm looking for something.
Yeah. Get a real close-up on her, please. That's what you're looking for. It's not a pill. It's not a therapy. It's not a
for you.
therapist. That's what you're looking for right there.
That's what you're looking
You
for.
gotta find you again.
I guess DJ agrees with Dr. Phil. Don't you, DJ?
The difference between winners and losers is winners just do things losers don't want to do. It's really just that simple. You know, people say to me sometimes, Dr. Phil, do you think problems are as simple as you make them out to be? I don't think problems are simple. I think they're complex. I think they're layered. I think they have deep roots. I think there's all kinds of issues to problems. They're like a damn Rubik's Cube. It's the solutions that are simple. Are you willing to do things that you're now not doing?
Yes.
And if you are, I'm willing to help you do that. I'm willing to get you a coach that will help you get up in the morning, will help you set objectives, will help you behave your way to success.
Those are all symptoms of depression.
Because you are good, you are smart, you are talented, you can do what you need to do. Do something for me right now. Sit up really straight. Put your shoulders back and sit up really straight. Just that simple thing is something you need to start doing. You sit around like you're a sick old woman. You're not a sick old woman. You're a young, vibrant woman.
What do I do about how I feel on the inside then?
Trust me. It's coming. Do you believe that if you change your behavior, you can change your life?
Change your behavior. You could change your life.
Yes.
When you choose a behavior, you choose the consequences.
Will you choose to be happy?
You can go home and get in fetal position in a dark room. That will change your life, will it not? That will make your week dark and small.
That's what I usually do.
Exactly. Well, we're going to turn the lights on, open the door, get you up, get you dressed, get you showered, get you groomed, and get you into the world. Are you telling me you don't recognize that will change your life?
No, it will.
I'm sorry?
It will. It can.
Damn right it will.
Yes, it will.
Does that solve all of your problems?
No.
No. It's a step in the right direction, and then we build momentum. And then we build on that, we build on
You
that.
build on each
And I will
step.
help you do that. You want to play?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm going to talk to T's parents. I'm going to excuse her in a minute at the break and talk to them, and then we're going to be done here. But our relationship is just starting.
Good.
This isn't the end, it's just the beginning. And I am relentless.
You don't know it, but me too.
All right, we'll be right back.
You know, during my depression, I started going back to church. That was one of the things that I would do. And I really liked this quote. This was given to me by a girl that I went to elementary school with and junior high. Her name is Deanna Oberg Valness. And she put this in there. She said, Mark 2, Jesus healed a paralyzed man because of his friend's faith. That is why your circle matters. Yeah. I mean, they cut a hole in the roof of that one person's house and lowered him in there just so Jesus could touch him. His friends did that. Hiking is another thing that I got heavily involved with, and I still do it. I do it every weekend. And this is a quote I often think of. And into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul. I love that quote. You know, these are all on my author's page, Cucumbers the Rabbit. I wrote a book. That was also part of my, helped me get through my depression of going through a divorce. It took my mind off the divorce, and I wanted to do something positive while I was going through the divorce. So I wrote Cucumbers the Rabbit. I wrote it for my daughter, got it published. I'm very proud of the book. And if you're looking for a good book for your kids, it's usually about 8 to 12 years old. It's a good book. It's 20 short stories. But here we go. Happy Friday. What you love, you empower. What you fear, you empower. What you empower, you attract. So do you attract love or do you attract fear? What you empower is what you attract. I love that quote. I really do. You know, here's one about God again. God has already prepared the way. He's just preparing you. I like this one too. If you continuously compete with others, you become bitter. But if you continuously compete with yourself, you become better. Yeah. I have never felt more proud of myself than when I finished that half marathon. You know, and finding love again, I like this quote too. You know, there's always some madness in love, but there's also always some reason in madness. And I'm not worried about finding love. You know, when you break up with somebody, it's a good time to reflect on yourself, maybe improve yourself, maybe find, you know, try to, you know, think about, you know, what went wrong. Maybe there were some things about yourself you need to improve, and you work on those things, you know, and you know, so I'm dieting, and I've, you know, my house, you know, I'm on the road all the time, so I started cleaning my house again. And, you know, yeah, maybe I'll get my, you know, my stuff together when I meet that next one. It's okay if you fall down and lose your spark. Just make sure that when you get back up, you rise as the whole damn fire. Yeah, I totally agree with that one. You know, I like this quote right here. I believe depression is legitimate, but I also believe that if you don't exercise, eat nutritious food, get sunlight, get enough sleep, consume positive materials, surround yourself with support, then you aren't giving yourself a fighting chance. Yeah. And that's my whole point. I kind of like this quote too, wisdom from the 11th Doctor. The way I see it, life is a pile of good things and bad things. The good things don't always soften the bad things, but vice versa. The bad things don't always spoil the good things or make them unimportant. And yeah, I like that. I like this quote from my ex-girlfriend Dee, the one I was with for 3 years. She wrote, "Today is the only day of the year that tells you to do something. March 4th. And yep, March 4th. Keep marching. Never stop. Good words. You know, this is a quote from Ariel Glinsendorf. You know, she's a body lifter and competes in tournaments. And every day she writes something. Success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. I can't argue on that one. Dreams don't work unless you do. This was given to me by a girl I went on one date with. And I like this one. And that's her motto. Dreams don't work unless you do. Here's one more. You are afraid of surrender because you don't want to lose control. But you never had control. All you had was anxiety. Yes, that's it. So you never want to be afraid of surrender. You never want to be full of anxiety. Crisis doesn't create character, it reveals it. Oh yeah. I like this one. Love yourself first because that's who you'll be spending the rest of your life with. This is one of my favorite quotes. Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's learning to dance. And I'm going to end this video on this quote right here because this was something that Dr. Phil had talked about. Student says, I am very discouraged. What should I do? Master says, encourage others. And, you know, when Dr. Phil had told that girl, you know, he said, you know, you need, you know, you're what you need to do is be a giver. And you know, you need to give people what you are craving the most, you know. And for her, she was very lonely. And so what he was saying is that, you know, you need to go out there and, you know, be friends and to lonely people, you know, and then you won't be lonely yourself. And I you know, I can't, I just think that's, this quote right here, I just think is a beautiful quote. You know, I am very discouraged. What should I do? Master, encourage others. And I'm not trying at all to put anybody down that has depression. That wasn't the purpose of any of my writing. You know, one of the things that when I was dating the last girl I was with, Kristen, you know, she would tell me, you know, before you write something down, you should always sit there and ask yourself, what's your motivation? You know, and those are really wise words. You know, what is your motivation? And my motivation for writing that post was I wanted to tell people how I got through my depression. I know some people, you know, called it situational depression, and they could be right. But I got through it, and I tried to explain to people how I got through it. And I honestly believe your mind can do anything it wants, just like what Dr. Phil said. And he's been in the business 45 years. A lot of what he said matches up with what I had to say. So that's the reason I put this post, this video out here. I know it's over an hour. If you made it through this entire video, hey, you know what? I'm impressed, you know. I will probably listen to this video while I'm driving my semi-truck. So, but that was the goal of this video, was to offer hope, and maybe give you a different way to think about life, about depression. You could choose to be happy, choose happiness, you know. Choose it and do the things. Find your happy places, like I did, you know, like hiking and church and you know, writing and getting in contact with, you know, old friends from high school, and you know, doing all those things, you know, exercising, you know, going to the gym, eating right, writing. If you like to write, you know, go see some live bands. So, all right, everybody, I'm out of here. Peace. Wisconsin hugs.